Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Feldenkrais Now. Today we're going to do a lesson that works a lot on the shoulder girdle, the shoulder blades, and your rib cage in a really deep way, and it can really soften those areas, including the neck. And as often the case in Feldenkrais, it will also work other areas of your body. So I want to start in sitting. So we're going to do the first movement in sitting, so it becomes very easy for you to understand what you're going to be doing once you're lying down on the mat. So what you do is you take your right arm up into a comfortable diagonal. Your left arm is also in a diagonal. So you have like a line between your arms, and you stretch one away from the other. So if you do only your arms, it would be like this. You'll feel only your shoulders moving. But I'd like you to think about moving also your back, your rib cage a little bit. Use every part of your body you can to make this movement bigger. So it's as if two people came and would pull a little bit on your wrists. The right wrist would be pulled a little upward and the left wrist a little bit downward. Don't try to make this movement too big. Make it very smooth. So you feel something is happening in those, and release your arms down. You probably felt something happening in 3-4 vertebrae that are just between and below your shoulder blades. So that's a very important area to get to. Let's do it on the other side. You lift your left arm upwards in a diagonal. Your right arm is also downwards in a diagonal. You can look and see. And then you just pull. And at first probably you will just lengthen your arms and you'll feel it mostly in your shoulders, and then you can start using all your rib cage, whatever is available, but not more. You might want to start moving the head a little bit in the opposite direction, whatever feels good to you. So you see that this is actually a very small movement. And see where in your vertebrae, in your spinal column, you feel this. It's a place we don't usually really move a lot. So you lower your arms, and then we're going to come to lying down. So you can prepare a little cushion so that you have, that it's comfortable for you. If you need that support under your head, and then maybe slowly during the lesson you can think of letting it go if it's comfortable for you. In Feldenkrais we don't do what's not comfortable, and we don't do what hurts. So please come to lying on your mat, and let's take a moment to feel the body on the floor, on the mat, on the bed, whatever you're working on. And just notice if you can release the weight of your body into the mat. Every time you exhale, you think about releasing more weight into the floor, into the mat. See if you can let go. You can always let go somewhere. See if you can let go your hands, the weight of your hands, the weight of your fingers wants to go down. See if you can let go in your forearms, your upper arms, your upper back. See if, although the things are getting heavier on the floor now, maybe you can notice that you still have areas that are not lying on the floor. The curvature of your neck, the curvature of your lower back, the spaces behind the knee, the spaces behind your ankles. So it can be interesting sometimes to feel heaviness and lightness. So parts of your body might be feeling very heavy now, and parts of your body are still up and not in contact with the floor. And now please, like we did in sitting, please take your right arm upwards to a comfortable diagonal. It doesn't have to be too high. The left arm is also in a diagonal. You can take a look if you want. Try to feel a connection between the two arms and start kind of separating, stretching them out, stretching the right arm up and the left arm down. We did this in sitting so it would be more clear. Now that we're in lying, It's a little bit less clear because you have the weight of the body on the floor. See where your head wants to go, let it. Maybe the head wants to tilt a little bit to the left. Let your head do that. And think about the fact that this is a very small movement, but it gets to places that we don't usually move. Now please stay like this with your arms and stand your right foot on the floor. You want to have your foot relatively close to your buttocks. You don't want to be too far away because then you have no standing position. You can't lean on the foot. We want to always use the foot to lean on it, right? Like in standing or walking. So now we're going to do this, and we're going to do the movement of the arms, and we're going to kind of push the right foot into the floor a little bit and let the right side of the upper body and the pelvis open a little more. So it's a small tilt towards the left side of your body. So you see that the right side of your chest is coming up a little bit. Maybe your gaze is coming a little bit to the left. And you keep stretching your arms a little bit. It's not a big movement. I think you will probably have 2-3 centimeters movement in each arm. Make sure that your right knee doesn't flop inwards or outwards. You don't want to do that. You want to stand your foot. You want to press the foot a little bit into the floor so the right hip joint can open. One more time. And now stretch out your right leg. Release your arms slowly back down. And take a rest. See what you notice. How does your right leg feel on the floor? Your right shoulder blade, your right arm. And now let's do exactly the same series of movements with the other direction. So you lift your left arm up in a diagonal, a comfortable diagonal. I know that not everybody has the freedom in the shoulder joint to really lift the left or right arm up. So you go to a place that's comfortable for you. And your right arm is down at an angle. So if you looked at your arms now, you would have a diagonal, and you start stretching. You start stretching. And this might be easier. See if your head wants to tilt a little bit to the right. See how much work there is in your abdomen. Your abdomen is also shifting a little bit. Notice that. And the best way to do this is to do it gently and to kind of see what's happening in your body. How does it feel? And not to make a lot of effort, contrary what we're used to. And now please stand your left foot on the floor, again relatively close to your left sit bone. And you continue stretching out the arms in opposite directions, and you push the left foot into the floor. Don't make the movement very big, but do try to see how the left side of the chest lifts upward. The left shoulder blade lifts upward. And you may feel that this is different. But please make sure that your entire foot is pressing into the floor and not just your heel, because this will influence the opening and the lifting of your left hip joint. Notice that your breath is free. I know this is not a very fun movement, stretching both arms in the opposite direction. If it's not fun and you don't enjoy it, make it smaller. Let's do that 2 more times. Notice that your breathing is smooth and your jaw is not clenched. And notice how long the left side of your abdomen becomes. And stretch out your left leg. Take your left arm downwards and just rest for a moment. And notice your breath. See if you can open your mouth a little bit to release tension in the jaw. We all have tension in the jaw. It's very, very common. So that's fine, you know, but just notice that. And breathe. Okay, now we're going to continue with the left side. So you're going to take your left arm up towards a diagonal, and both of your hands all the time are on the back. Your palms, let's make it easier. Your palms are facing the ceiling. Your palms are facing the ceiling. Now please stand both legs and cross your right leg over your left. Now I see a lot of students doing this or doing that. If you cannot cross your legs completely, that's totally fine. But if you can, it's preferable that you do cross without a space between the legs, if you can. If not, you can just do this. Or if it hurts you to do this movement we're going to be making, you just do it with your legs parallel standing, okay? So let's try slowly, slowly. So our arms are in the diagonal, left arm up, right arm is down. And we slowly, gently let our legs, our knees come to the right side a little bit. And back. We don't want to do this quickly and we don't want to do this suddenly. You want to do it gently, because think of this. Both the entire weight of your legs, or nearly the entire weight of your legs, is now pulling on your lower back, on your lower vertebrae of your lower back, and your hips are being pulled, your pelvis is being pulled, so you do not want to do this quickly. It doesn't really add anything to do this quickly. On the contrary, I would say they're doing it deeply. I can, for example, even feel this in my lower ribs on the right side. That's how big the stretch is, okay? So just keep doing this a few more times, and also take your time to come back and really let your entire pelvis come back onto the floor. Let's do this 3 more times and notice how the weight on the left shoulder blade releases and your shoulder blade is kind of floating a little bit. Come back. It's best not to hurry this. The benefit of this exercise is to do it, it increases as you do it more slowly. 2 more times. Feel how even your chin is being pulled a little downward. And allow yourself to come fully back. This is something I see a lot of my students tend to not want to do. Okay. Right, so let's open the crossover of the legs and let's just switch the legs. The arms stay in the same position, and you take your left leg over your right leg. And it's best here, I'm using a yoga mat so that my feet don't slip. And this is really important because all of the weight is on your right foot now. And as you may have noticed, when you let your legs come to the left, part of your foot lifts, the outer edge of your foot lifts, and all of the weight is on the inner edge of your foot. And you don't want to have a feeling that your feet are slipping, because if they do, you're going to start using muscles in your ankles that you don't need to use for this. So my advice is either to be barefoot, put a yoga mat, or if you don't want to do that, buy some socks that have like some surface under them that prevents you from slipping. Take your knees gently to the left, and see now that this affects the right shoulder blade, and your parts of the right side of your back are now lifting off the floor as you do this. So I wouldn't do more than 4 or 5 such movements. Don't forget to breathe, see where your gaze wants to go, where your head wants to go. If your head wants to go a little bit to the left, let it. And see how much the right side of your abdomen has to open for this to happen. We often think that our pelvis, the movement in our pelvis is not what we want, but many times what is lacking is actually softness in our abdomen and in the deep muscles of the abdomen. So it's something to think about. And only go as far as is comfortable, and just stay there for a second and feel how the entire weight of your legs is on the inner edge of your right foot. This is also a great exercise for your feet, by the way. Let's do that one more time. See how the pressure on your left shoulder blade is increasing, and how the right shoulder blade is kind of floating. Come back. Open your legs, open the crossing of your legs, and then slowly, slowly take your left arm downward and stretch out your legs and take a rest. And notice something interesting. You might notice that some of your vertebrae are lying on the floor a lot better. And I can feel it in the vertebrae, really behind the lower part of my sternum, okay, where the xiphoid processes. And behind that, just here, that's where I feel it, and you might feel it in the same place. Those vertebrae are really lying on the floor differently now, which means they have released. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on the right side. We're going to make it a little bit shorter. Of course, you can do more repetitions if you want. So please stand both your legs on the mat. This time, now I'm confused for a moment. Okay, your left arm is up. No. Yes, no, your right arm is up and your left arm is in a diagonal. So you have your arms again in a diagonal, and you take your left leg over the right and you gently let your legs go down to the left. Now this might feel very different from the previous side. So the idea is to do not too many movements, but to be aware of what is happening in your body. Where do you feel the pull? Let's do that one more time. And then come back to the center, open the crossover of your legs, and now you want to cross your right leg over your left leg, and you go in the opposite direction and see how your left shoulder blade is detaching from the floor as you do this and starts to float. So again, take your knees to the right, and you notice what happens in your left shoulder blade, and then slowly, 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 oops. You see that your left shoulder blade is no longer on the floor and starts to kind of come a little closer to your spine. If you have any pain or even a strain in your lower back, just take your legs to the side and make the movement much, much smaller. So you have to be attentive to what is going on in your body. That is generally a good idea in any case. The more we become attentive to what's going on in our body, the better we end up feeling. Because our body is ours. And that is always a reality we can come back to. It can be very comforting, actually. So let's do that 2 more times. Notice also what your body is leaning on as you come with your legs to the right. So your body comes on the right side of your pelvis, on the right side of your ribs, on the right side of your right shoulder blade, the left inner edge of your foot. And come back. Open the crossover of your legs. Slowly take down your right arm. Stretch out your legs. And take a breath. Notice if an area of your back and chest feel a little lower. Oftentimes when I teach this lesson, I watch my students and I can see how parts of their chest and their back are lower on the floor. It just kind of settles downward. All right. So now we're going to make this movement a little bit bigger. We're going to continue with the movement we just did, and we're going to make it a little bigger. So now you're going to stand your legs. You're going to cross your right leg over your left leg, as you did before. Your right arm is upwards in a comfortable diagonal. If you can take it closer to your ear, you might want to do that. But if you can't, then you can't, because a lot of people have injuries in their shoulders or some kind of limitation. You must respect the limitation. So now we're going to make the movement bigger. We're going to take the knees to the right. And now we're going to let the left shoulder lift off the floor. We're going to continue the movement. Let our knees come to the floor and come to the right side. And our head will come onto the right arm. And we come back. Now, how do we come back? I see people sometimes get stuck here. Think about your left shoulder going backwards. This is great. It opens your chest as well. So let your left shoulder come back towards the floor and come back lying on your back. I'm going to go even further to the left on my mat so that I don't get stuck. So again, your right arm is up, your left arm is somewhere next to your body. So now we do not have to have our arms in a diagonal anymore, right? Take your legs to the right. Let your left shoulder lift off the floor, and then eventually your left elbow will lift off the floor. So first the left shoulder lifts off the floor, your elbow and your hand and your forearm are on the floor still. And as you come further to the right, you slowly feel that your left elbow is also getting off the floor. Your left hand wants to leave the floor, and then your arm comes with you so that you can lie on the side. And your head comes onto your right arm. And then you come back. And the way to come back, my advice would be to just let your left shoulder go backward. So you can feel a stretch between your left shoulder and your right shoulder as you do this. Your left arm comes back, it wants to go back to the floor. Gravity is taking it back to the floor. Your left hand is on the floor. Your left elbow comes on the floor. Your left shoulder comes on the floor, and there you are. Let's do that 2 or 3 more times. If this is a problem for your lower back, you can do the same movement, but you don't have the crossover in the legs. You just open your legs, stand them on the floor parallel, and do this with your legs parallel and not a crossover. And see how important your head is. As you come back, your head is to get off your arm and come back to the floor. Let's do it 2 more times. Do whatever you need to do to make this movement comfortable. So in the last version, I'm going to show you how to do this. If your lower back is bothering you, you can do it this way. This is softer for your lower back, and you still get a lot of the benefits. Okay, so let's slowly take down your right arm. Even if you feel that you can take it down quickly, do it slowly anyway. Because your right shoulder blade was fully upward now, you see? So you want to slowly take it back to the neutral position. You don't want to do that too quickly, because we want to keep our ligaments soft. We don't want them to jump back in a harsh way. So now we're going to do what we did to the right side, we're going to do it to the left side. So we're going to stand our legs on the floor, on the mat. Going to take our left arm up, if possible relatively close to the ear, if that's possible for you, and if it's not, then wherever you can put it with ease. You're going to cross your left leg over your right leg, and slowly, gently, a few times, let's just take the knees to the left make half of the movement we did before. That means that we just want to see how it feels. Left. The right shoulder is already coming off the floor a little bit. And now the third time we're going to complete the movement, and we're really going to come to roll onto our left side. And the way to do this is we come to a kind of a limit, and then we let our right elbow, our right arm, our right shoulder come off the floor, and the head comes to lying on the left arm. And we're really coming to the side, and it's important to take a moment also to feel that. And then come back. The right shoulder wants to come back. The right elbow starts shifting towards the floor. The head comes back to the floor. And if you stay there for a minute, you can feel a deep stretch in your chest and in your rib cage. It's very nice. And come slowly back to the floor. I did it extra slowly so that if you need to see how it works, you can check it out. Let's continue doing that. The legs. The left leg is crossed over the right. The knees come towards the floor on the left, and slowly but surely the front part of your chest is really stretched. Your right shoulder comes off the floor, your arm comes off the floor, and you come to lying on your left side. You complete the movement by letting your head come onto your left arm. And take a moment to get to this place. And then come back slowly with awareness. What is taking you back? The right shoulder, the head, the weight of the right arm is what is slowly shifting you back onto your back. And this is maybe the more interesting part of the movement, the way back. So let's do it a few more times. Back, 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 back. The arm gets heavy, the head comes onto the floor. The head, if you see, shifts from the arm to the floor, and the face slowly comes back towards the ceiling, and your ribs, your pelvis, sorry, comes back onto the floor, and now your pelvis is facing the ceiling. So let's do this 2 more times. Try to see if you can notice that your breathing is still smooth. Notice if you're clenching your jaw. Often when we clench our jaw, it's a sign that we're doing too much, that we're straining ourselves. It's not necessary. All right. So slowly, slowly, take your left arm back down to the side, next to your body. Open the crossover in your legs. Let your legs come downward straight. Your legs are straight and long, and you just rest for a moment. And notice if something feels a little closer to the floor, maybe a little heavier. Just notice what is drawing your attention, what is pulling your attention, where in your body are you noticing things? And the change might be very small, might be minute, but it can be interesting. All right. So now please stand both your legs on the floor. Let your right arm come up, and now we're going to go back to the diagonal we started with in the beginning of the lesson. So now my right arm is in a diagonal, not really close to my ear, somewhere in a nice diagonal. My left arm is in a diagonal as well. I'm going to stretch out my right leg, and now I'm just going to start with what we did in the beginning. I'm just going to kind of pull my arms apart, as if I want to stretch them out. I want to stretch them out. See if perhaps it's a little bit easier now. And if it's easier, why is it easier? And start pushing your left leg into the floor so that the movement gets a lot bigger, and start turning your head in the direction of your right hand. And come back with your pelvis onto the floor. Your face is facing the ceiling. Your pelvis is facing your ceiling, your abdomen is facing the ceiling. And again, you start by stretching your arms outward, away from one another. You push the left foot into the floor. You have a big opening in your back, your chest. Your left hip joint is open. Your left thigh is long. The knee is still facing the ceiling. The knee is not flopping to the right or to the left. And you can look at your right hand and come back down. Let's do that a few more times. The head is helping me. It's turning and it makes the movement bigger, and I can look at my right hand, the one that's up. And now we're going to do this again. And next time we're going to do the same movement, but we're going to look at our left hand. And back. And again, we're going to do the same movement. We press the left foot into the floor. The left side of your hip comes up and away from the floor and tilts to the right, and you are looking at your left hand, which is also lengthening downwards. If you want to check, you can see you might even be able to touch your left foot if you want, just to get a situation of how long your arm is. Again. Feel the stretch in the spine and the chest. And again. And now we're going to alternate it. So once you're going to keep doing the same movement, we press the left foot into the floor. We look at the right hand. We come back. We look at the left hand. We come back. And now we're going to do this a little bit more quickly. We're going to try to make it with ease. And down. So see how much just taking your head in a different direction changes the movement. Feel the change in the spine, in the neck, in the chest, but mostly in the spine and in the neck. One more time. Of course, the fact that I'm stretching each arm away from the other is opening my rib cage a lot. Also the sternum, the chest bone. And slowly, slowly come back to the center. Slowly, slowly, your right arm comes back next to the body. Don't do this quickly. You don't want to snap your ligaments. Stretch out the left leg. And rest for a moment. Notice how your breath is. Notice that if you inhale, as you inhale, perhaps your chest is a little bit wider, a little bit more open. Perhaps you can feel that the ribs have a little more space. That would be a nice outcome. If it happens, that's wonderful. If not, next time. All right, so let's do this on the other side. So stand both your legs on the floor. Take your left arm up in a diagonal. So your left arm is not next to your ear, otherwise it would be hard to look at it later. But I can see it easily, it's in a diagonal. My right arm the same, the palms are facing the ceiling, and the right foot is on the floor. Let's stretch out our left leg. And let's start by just gently stretching our arms in opposite directions. Again, I like the image of someone pulling our wrists gently. And we start pressing the right foot into the floor, making the movement bigger. The right hip joint is open. And we look at our left hand. We come back. And just keep making it. You understood already now what needs to be done. So see if you can make it gentler, softer, easier. Keep your breath easy. Notice that your jaw is not locked, and just feel the stretch in your back, in your spine, in your chest. And again, looking at the left hand. Let's do that 2 more times, and then we're going to change the direction of the head, of the gaze. And always make sure to come back and let the pelvis rest for a moment on the floor fully. So don't be half Don't come half back, just fully come back. Release the muscles. Your face is facing the ceiling, and again. And back. And now we're going to start doing the same thing, but we're going to look at the right hand. Notice what's moving. Perhaps you can feel the right clavicle move as well, the right clavicle. See if you can feel that. As you're stretching your right arm down, the left arm up, pressing the right foot into the floor, you come into a very open position. And again. So your eyes are looking for your hand. They might not see the hand, but your eyes are looking for the hand. That gives functionality to the movement. One more time, and then we're going to alternate. We're going to alternate. Once we're going to look up towards the left hand, and once we're going to look down. And try not to make too much effort. You can make the movement a little bit smaller. Just do what feels good. And 2 more times. Up, down, up. And the last time we're going to look to the right hand. Come back to the floor. Slowly take your left arm down. Stretch out your right leg. Come to the resting position. And see how your back is lying on the floor now. Notice the curvature of your spine. The inward curve of the neck. The outward curve towards the floor of the upper thoracic spine, the upper back. Then maybe you can feel somewhere in the middle of your back, the spine is touching the floor very clearly. And then again, the inward curve of the lower back. And again, the outward curve of the sacrum, of those vertebrae that are connected to your pelvis, and where your tailbone is. Well, just notice your breath, your contact with the floor. Notice if you can let go of your face, of the musculature in your face, your jaw. And then slowly, slowly roll through the side into a sitting position. Come to sitting. I'll just sit on the floor. It's always a good idea. And see it as how it is for a moment to sit, and then slowly get up. Feel how it is to stand, how your feet are connected to the floor. The feet is what is holding the weight of your entire body. Then take a few steps in your room, back and forth for a few times. And that's it for today. I hope you have a kind of a takeaway of a bigger opening in your rib cage, in your chest, in your back, perhaps a little added mobility in those vertebrae here in the center of the back, which are so hard to get to. If you can feel that, maybe even during the day or the next day, that's wonderful. And of course, you can do these lessons over and over again, and each time maybe you will notice something different. So thank you and bye-bye.